She stood silently weeping behind the break-room door. Unbeknownst to her, the man who was quietly listening held the position of undercover CEO for the entire restaurant chain. Julian Merritt arrived at the restaurant's parking lot at approximately 6:45 p.m. A night filled with promise and anticipation, typically the most active. He switched off the ignition of his black Ford Explorer, reclined in his seat, and gazed at the building through the windshield for a moment. The faint glow of the neon sign above the entrance cast a subtle light. The table belonging to Merritt, the name he had jotted down on a napkin a decade earlier. His attire didn't reflect that of a CEO. Casual attire, a grey hoodie, fitted jeans and sneakers, leaving the blazer and tie behind. Upon closer inspection, one might catch sight of the watch, yet nobody took action, and that was his preference. Within the restaurant, the familiar cadence of a Friday night unfolded. Families gathered around fried catfish, couples enjoying plates of mac and cheese, children dipping hush puppies into sauce. The aroma of sizzling oil and vibrant Cajun seasoning permeated the atmosphere. He entered quietly, without any pretense or celebration. The hostess, a high school student with weary eyes, hardly glanced up, only one. Julian gave a slight nod. "Are the bars crowded? Is the booth all right?" "That works for me." She guided him through the throng of guests, steering him to a secluded booth that offered a glimpse of the kitchen doors. He sat comfortably, surveying the room, as if searching for something elusive and undefined. Yet he perceived Faithul, the manager, clad in a crisp white button-down, stood by the bar with his chest puffed out like a proud rooster, arms crossed as he barked orders at the bartender. A slender waitress in scuffed shoes rushed by, balancing 2 trays with practiced ease. She appeared to be around 22, possibly 23. A second waiter stumbled over a chair leg. The manager shot a piercing look, yet offered no assistance. Julian observed that smiles were only present when someone was in the act of serving. The staff communicated in hushed tones, sharing more through whispers than through conversation. A busboy cast anxious glances toward the rear, his unease palpable. He retrieved a notepad from his bag, not to compose, just to connect with something known. In the past, he meticulously recorded sauces and spice levels on that pad. Now it lingered, in his back pocket like a treasured artifact. The server was a young man named Deshawn, warm, courteous, and swift. "Hey there, I really appreciate your understanding. Water, bread, menu. Are you all right?" Julian nodded, maintaining a relaxed tone. "Everything is great. Thank you for your support." Deshawn smiled broadly. "Friday crowds can be quite intense, but you arrived at just the right moment. Would you like me to help you get started with something?" Julian selected the shrimp and grits accompanied by a side of greens, returned the menu, and observed as Deshawn vanished behind the kitchen door. The ambience of the restaurant hummed consistently, yet an undercurrent of tension lingered, akin to a pressure valve teetering on the brink of release. Julian leaned in, feigning interest in his phone as he scrolled through the screen. Yet his gaze remained vigilant. At the dish station, a young woman with braids and weary shoulders filled water pitchers. She glanced back repeatedly, as if sensing a presence lurking behind her. As the manager walked by, she straightened her posture. As he departed, her shoulders slumped once more. The establishment had been in operation for 8 months. This marked the 3rd location, situated in Jackson, Mississippi. Julian chose it for reasons close to his heart. His grandfather originated from this place. It felt like a complete journey. Yet, as he settled into the booth, enjoying a prime perspective on the interactions among the staff, Julian sensed a pull within him, a subtle, persistent feeling that the principles he had established for his company were failing to resonate with the ground level. The meal was delivered steaming hot. Deshawn meticulously ensured that he possessed all that was necessary. "Is there anything more you would like?" Julian beamed with delight. "Negative. You're excelling wonderfully." Deshawn offered a brief nod before continuing on his way. Julian savored the first bite, then eagerly took another. The flavor was present, the recipe remained the same. Yet there was an undeniable quality to the experience that resonated, disengaged. He was unable to put a name to it just yet. Not quite. He wiped his mouth, took a sip of water, and was on the verge of signaling for the check when an unexpected shift occurred, a subtle whisper. It failed to harmonize with the noise and chatter enveloping him. He stood still. The sound emanated from the hallway at the rear, close to the employee lockers. Subtle yet distinctly understandable. A person was weeping. Yet rather than rising to depart, Julian remained still and pursued the sound. The corridor was permeated, with the scent of aged frying oil mingling with a hint of lemon cleaner. Julian advanced with deliberate slowness, each footfall muted upon the aged tile beneath him. He wished to avoid alarming anyone. He had no business being back here, not in the role of a customer at least. Yet that sound had unearthed something profound within him. A gentle, trembling voice resonated from behind the slightly ajar breakroom door. The sound was subdued, yet the emotion was unmistakable. "I can't go on like this, Tash," the voice lamented. "I am making an effort, yet he regards me with disdain. As if my presence is a mere privilege." Julian paused just before the entrance. He didn't look inside. He remained motionless, attuned to the sounds around him. It wasn't merely about listening in. It was a matter of comprehension, as there was an unmistakable familiarity in that voice. It's not the sound of the voice, but the weariness that lingers within it. Within the confines of the space, two women occupied the area near the lockers. One of them, the one who was speaking, was the waitress from earlier, the one with the scuffed shoes and weary shoulders. Ariel Knox, as indicated by her name tag. She sat curled up, hands resting in her lap, sleeves pushed up to her elbows, eyes swollen from the effort of stifling her sobs. Beside her stood a robust kitchen worker, sporting short twists in his hair. Tasha, it seems, positioned herself with her arm draped over Ariel's shoulder. I inquired about my overtime from the previous week. He remarked that I possessed a certain attitude. I put in double shifts 3 days a week, yet I still leave with less than what was promised to me. Ariel wiped her tears away, her sleeve brushing against her face. And now he's considering reprimanding me for speaking out of turn after he embarrassed Danny in front of an entire table. Tasha gave a slight shake of her head. He's merely a tyrant dressed in khakis. You haven't made any mistakes. Danny has just let a tray slip from his grasp. Such things occur. He brought him to tears. Ariel murmured softly, a grown man weeping in the walk-in. Now it seems that everyone is hesitant to speak up, as Brent observes us with a keen eye. "Is that you, Brent?" The name dropped heavily in Julian's stomach. Julian stepped back, mindful of the silence around him. He preferred they remain unaware of his eavesdropping. Not at this moment, not until he found a way to take action. He strolled back to the main floor with a deliberate pace, his heart weighed down and thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. This was precisely the sort of situation he had vowed to avoid. His establishments were meant to stand apart. Founded on mutual regard, regarding fairness, on love. He reclined in his booth, gazing vacantly at the plate that remained largely untouched. Deshawn strolled by once more. "Is everything okay?" Julian lifted his gaze. "Have you ever encountered problems with the manager in this place?" Deshawn paused, his gaze sharpening. "Could you clarify what you mean? I'm simply inquiring." Deshawn softened his tone. "I have a little secret to share, but you didn't get it from me. Brent presents quite a challenge in a collaborative environment, particularly if you're just starting out, or if you mention anything he finds displeasing." Julian inclined his head with a measured nod. "Have you ever needed to approach HR regarding him?" Deshawn offered a constrained smile. "Human resources is unavailable on Fridays." That encapsulated everything. Julian rose from his seat, placed some money on the table, and made his way toward the back once more, however not to depart. On this occasion he made his way to the office. A printed sign was taped to the small door adjacent to the employee bathroom, only for the manager. He rapped once with conviction. No response. He rapped once more. At last the door swung open. Brent Allister, in the early 40s, a shirt designed for formal occasions, worn name tag, wireless device in one ear. His smile was one that failed to illuminate his eyes. "This area is designated for staff use only, sir. The dining room is in that direction. Julian's demeanor was serene, regulated. Let's have a chat. Within the confines of the office, Brent arched an eyebrow. Beg your pardon? Julian maintained his focus. I expressed, within the workspace. Brent scrutinized him from head to toe, perplexed, attempting to recognize the visage. He remained unrecognized. I lack the time for... Julian delved into the depths of his hoodie pocket, retrieving his wallet with a casual flick of his wrist. Have opened it, displayed the company card, the one featuring his complete name, emblem and designation, Julian Merritt, Creator, Chief Executive Officer. Brent's lips parted, yet nothing emerged. Julian gestured subtly with a nod of his head. Within. Yet Brent remained unaware that the most challenging aspect lay beyond the conversation itself. They were still at the beginning. The workspace felt confined, a desk cluttered with receipts, an old corkboard displaying schedules that are no longer current. Two contrasting chairs. Julian chose the one that faced the door. Brent rose to his feet, with arms crossed, squirming awkwardly, as if a pupil has been discovered in the act of dishonesty during an examination. I had no idea you were on your way. Brent spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. His eyes flicked toward the hallway, as if he were yearning. For a distraction. That was the essence, Julian responded. Brent emitted a hesitant laugh. If there's a problem, I would value some background information. Everything has been operating smoothly here. Received excellent feedback on Yelp. Last week, we achieved our monthly target. Julian maintained a steady tone. I just overheard a member of our team sobbing behind the lockers, clearly overwhelmed by fear about working here. Brent's eyes fluttered open in surprise. His expression shifted, yet it did not convey worry. More akin to computation. There are complaints from the staff, Julian. Such things occur. I run a well-organized operation. It's essential to ensure that company time is respected and not exploited. Who is capitalizing on the situation? Is that you, Ariel? Julian inquired. Brent paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. She experiences deep feelings, promising employee, yet still inexperienced, becomes unsettled. I've been assisting her in becoming more resilient, Julian reclined. Is she being threatened with job loss? Humiliating her colleagues in front of others? Brent's mouth opened to respond, yet Julian lifted a hand to silence him. Be honest, I'm already aware I have been observing. The silence lingered, extending for a moment that felt excessive. Julian left it empty. He allowed it to dangle. It was never my intention to cause anyone discomfort. Brent muttered under his breath, I maintain a structured atmosphere. We find ourselves in the southern region. Individuals occasionally arrive with poor work habits. Julian tensed up. I am fully aware of my current situation, Brent. I established this company here with a purpose in mind. You believe I can't grasp the essence of those who enter with each shift? Brent gulped with difficulty. Julian rose to his feet. Not to overshadow, to clarify, the discussion has concluded. You're heading home early this evening. Brent arched an eyebrow. What is this? Time to clock out. Return to your place of residence. I will take care of everything else. Brent remained silent. No resistance was offered. With a slow nod, I turned and made my way out. Yet, he remained oblivious. He believed this was just a passing phase, a gentle reprimand. Julian exited the office, surveying his surroundings with a keen eye. Silence enveloped the hallway once more. The kitchen buzzed with the rhythm of prep orders, the sizzle of oil and the clatter of plates, ordinary sounds. Yet they seemed altered in some way now. He strolled by the dish pit. It was there that he caught sight of Danny, slender, perhaps 19, cleaning the trays. His face glowed with warmth from the steam and exertion. Julian took a moment to reflect. Are you Danny? Danny glanced upward, taken aback. Indeed. Julian reached out with an open hand. My name is Julian. Danny hesitated. To take it immediately. He took his time to wipe his hands clean before extending them forward. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Julian gestured toward the kitchen. Brent really put you through the ringer the other night. Danny gave a slight nod. I accidentally let a tray slip from my grasp. My hands were damp. He raised his voice at me in front of table 6, claimed I was tarnishing the brand's image, suggested that I should find a job at a gas station. Julian tightened his jaw, holding back words that lingered on the tip of his tongue. "Do you enjoy your time at this place?" he inquired after a moment's hesitation. Danny gave a nonchalant shrug. "The individuals are quite appealing. Ariel keeps an eye on me. Tash does too. However, indeed, it's challenging." Julian gave his shoulder a gentle pat. "I appreciate you sharing that with me." He continued on his path, across the kitchen, passing through the preparation area. He observed a chef, a middle-aged individual walking with a slight limp, continuing to manage a busy line with 3 orders in progress. Silence enveloped him, with no word spoken in his direction. No assistance was offered. He was persevering. Julian intervened. "What occurred with your leg?" The man appeared taken. "Back? Previous injury. It becomes increasingly uncomfortable when I'm on my feet all day. However, I am well. Are you requesting adjustments?" "A few instances." Brent remarked that if I can't manage the line, I should find my way out. Julian briefly shut his eyes. He had reached his limit. He retreated into the hallway, retrieved his phone, and sent a message to his executive assistant, Lynn Carter. "Urgent gathering. It's the start of a new week, a fresh canvas waiting to be filled. Comprehensive review of the Jackson site. Allow me to clarify." He made his way back to the break room once more. This time he moved past the threshold without hesitation. He tapped softly and pushed it open. Ariel and Tasha pivoted abruptly. Julian offered them a composed, unwavering gaze. "May we have a conversation?" Yet, Ariel remained unaware that the figure in the doorway was on the brink of altering her world entirely. As Julian entered, the break room was enveloped in an unexpected hush. Ariel's eyes remained tinged with red, her expression caught in a delicate balance of embarrassment and confusion. Tasha's arms instinctively folded across her chest, a shield against the world. Julian conveyed a gentle yet straightforward manner. "I'm not here to pass judgment. I simply seek to uncover the truth." Silence enveloped the 2 women. "Julian Merritt." He introduced himself. "Creator of this establishment. I arrived without prior notice, observed Heard. Now I would like you to share your perspective on what is truly going on in this situation." Ariel paused, taking it all in. He nodded. "At you. I would be grateful if you could share your thoughts with me candidly. Let's be straightforward." Tasha glanced at Ariel before shifting her gaze back to Julian. "Indeed, he truly is." Ariel adjusted her position in the chair. "I have no intention of causing anyone to lose their job. I felt uncertain about who to confide in." Julian settled into his seat, leaning forward with his elbows resting on his knees. "Let's set aside concerns about dismissals. Simply the truth." Ariel inhaled deeply. "Brent views individuals as instruments to be utilized. The ones he favors receive time away, improved shifts, improved tables. The remainder of us, if we're 2 minutes late, it's straight to the city." Tasha remarked that whenever we pose questions, he accuses us of having an attitude. He began reducing hours for those he perceives as overly chatty. Several of the kitchen staff hardly manage to secure 3 shifts a week these days. Whenever we address issues, it's consistently the same. Response: "It doesn't appeal to you. Depart." Julian remained silent. His jaw remained still. His breathing was steady. "What about the customers?" Ariel pressed on. "We're instructed to grin, comply, and remain silent, even if they regard us with disdain. Brent consistently advocates for the customer. Each time." Tasha inclined closer. "Ariel puts in more effort than anyone else among us, extended hours, arrives at the crack of dawn and leaves when the stars come out. Ask anyone out there, she never slacks off, and Brent treats her as if she's a novice." Julian nodded slowly. "For how long has this been happening?" "Ever since he began." 2 months since our grand opening," Ariel responded. "We wished it would just go away. The job was essential for us." Julian reclined and exhaled deeply. "Disrespect should never be tolerated for the sake of a paycheck." Ariel lifted her gaze. "So, what accounts for its frequent occurrence?" Julian hesitated before responding. That question pierced through her words, revealing more than she might have realized. He had brought Brent on board, granted him approval, had confidence in his resume, his interviews, the references. He hadn't reached out even once in the past 8 months. Perhaps the true shortcoming lay not with Brent, it was indeed him. He rose to his feet. I am implementing modifications, in effect immediately. Ariel appeared hesitant. What type of modifications? Julian offered a gentle smile. Those that begin with attentiveness, conclude with responsibility. He exited the break room and navigated through the kitchen once more. The team exchanged furtive looks, some intriguing, some expressed concern. Whispers began to circulate. The chief executive officer made an appearance here. He had no smile on his face. Julian approached the front of the house. The dining room hummed with energy, individuals dining, engaging in conversation, oblivious to the fact that just outside the kitchen door, a transformation in authority was underway. He gently nudged Deshawn on the shoulder. Would you be able to assist me with something? Absolutely. Gently inform all who have clocked in tonight that there will be a brief team meeting at the end of the shift. Compensated hours. I will take care of it. Deshawn lifted an eyebrow in curiosity, then gave a nod. Understood. Julian lingered at the entrance, arms crossed, observing intently. Brent appeared moments later, his expression tense, striding toward the door in silence. A few of the team members observed. Some chose to act as if they were unaware. Julian allowed him to proceed without interruption, not in front of an audience. Allow him to leave, allow him to simmer in his own thoughts. The true endeavor began following the departure. However, what the staff didn't anticipate was that the individual stepping in for Brent was not a newcomer. The establishment shut its doors shortly after 11 p.m. The final table remained cluttered with takeout boxes as the kitchen started to close for the night. The pans have been thoroughly scrubbed, aprons neatly folded, garbage removed in hefty bags that thumped against the rear door. In the dining room, Julian stood by the host stand, observing as the staff congregated around him. Uncertainty hung in the air, leaving everyone in a state of anticipation. Ariel hung back, her arms firmly crossed over her chest. Danny rested against the mop handle, his dish gloves still on his hands. Tasha lingered at the periphery of the gathering, her gaze fixed intently on Julian. He lifted his hand. Thank you for your continued presence. I understand you're feeling weary, so I'll be brief. However, I wish to clarify a point. His voice held a calm steadiness, yet it was soft enough that everyone had to lean in slightly to catch his words. This location bears my name, the name of my family. I began Merit's table with a single location and a borrowed stove, constructing it around a straightforward concept: delicious cuisine, wonderful company, and a just environment for employment. He surveyed his surroundings. Amidst the endless forms and the pursuit of profit, I lost sight of what was right beneath me. I take full responsibility for that error. Stillness. Silence enveloped the scene, and stillness reigned supreme. Several heads bobbed in agreement. I observed enough this evening to realize that operations aren't proceeding as I envisioned. Individuals experiencing condescension, reprimanded for voicing my thoughts. Compelled to remain quiet. That ends here. A subtle ripple passed through the assembly. Julian pressed on. My intention is not to instill fear in anyone. I'm ready to hear you out and mend what's not working, one individual at a time. Commencing. This evening, he gestured to the rear. I will be available for the next few hours. I would like to have a conversation with each of you. Isolated. Just 5 minutes. Only your reality. There are no repercussions. Ariel's brows knitted together. Is that so? Julian gave a slight nod. Indeed. This remains confidential, yet still within our sights. Tasha raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on her lips, her arms remaining crossed. He remarked, If you've ever held a position where your voice went unheard, this is no longer that kind of place. The team dispersed into small groups, whispering, among themselves. Deshawn took the initiative and stepped forward first, In the manager's office, he sat opposite Julian, hat removed, fingers restless. "I enjoy my time here, truly." He mentioned that he had endured worse jobs, yet he maintained a low profile because Brent created an atmosphere where voicing concerns felt like a risk. "I've witnessed 3 individuals vanish from the roster simply for seeking clarification." Julian jotted down notes in a compact black notebook. "Is there anyone else you believe I should reach out to who may be feeling apprehensive?" Julian inquired. Deshawn pondered. "Perhaps Keisha. She may be silent, yet her perception is keen and all-encompassing. Thank you very much." Then it was Keisha's turn. Next, Tasha. Then there was Danny. Every single one unique. Feeling a bit frustrated, feeling a bit frightened. Yet, there was a common thread among them all. The desire for one's voice to resonate. Keisha expressed her frustration over the constantly shifting schedule, which made it challenging for her to secure a second job or arrange for childcare. Tasha discussed Brent's remarks of a personal nature. Concerning body weight, hairstyle, and attire, she mentioned that she began having lunch in her car simply to steer clear of him. Danny confessed he had contemplated quitting on 3 occasions in the past month. He mentioned that he remained due to Ariel. Each tale gradually eroded Julian's quietude. He chose not to engage in a dispute. No excuses. "I just finished listening." As Ariel stepped inside and gently shut the door behind her, she paused before taking a seat. Her gaze lingered on him, a mix of gratitude and frustration swirling in her eyes. "You truly had no idea." Julian gave a slight shake of his head. "I did." "Not so. What makes you take it personally?" He paused for a moment, contemplating. "I initiated this endeavor to provide individuals like you with something of greater value. And I loathe the idea that I turned into just another leader who ceased to care." She took a seat opposite him. "What comes next?" Julian inclined his body, eager to engage. "I am in the process of restoring trust, one change at a time." Ariel observed him intently for a brief moment before offering a subtle nod. Disapproval, only acknowledgement, as if she was prepared to observe the unfolding events. Yet Julian understood that words held no weight if the dawn brought nothing but the monotony of another day. Monday morning arrived quietly, lacking any excitement. The sun blazed through the mist hovering over Jackson, while the restaurant remained shuttered until midday. A handwritten note affixed to the door announced, "We're opening late today for staff development. I appreciate your understanding." Inside, Julian made his entrance ahead of time. This time, no hoodie. Shirt fastened, cuffs turned back, no entourage yet. With a binder tucked under one arm and a black notebook cradled under the other, he wasn't present to showcase his talents. He had arrived to tidy things up. By 8:15 a.m., everyone had arrived. Some arrived in professional attire, while others opted for a more relaxed look, all grappling with the ambiguity of what this staff development entailed. They convened in the dining room once more, their senses heightened this time. Soft murmurs filled the air as glances flitted toward the front of the room. A few appeared to hold on to a sense of optimism. Some prepared themselves for unfavorable updates. Julian positioned himself at the center table, exuding a sense of calm and clarity. "I would like to express my gratitude to each and every one of you who took the time to speak with me on Friday night. Your words, the trust you placed in me, hold significance, and it shall not be overlooked." He paused for a moment, allowing it to linger in the air. "This is our starting point." Brent has departed from the company. Inhalations of surprise. Several eyes opened wide. Ariel cast her gaze downward, concealing a faint smile. Danny cast a sidelong look at Tasha, his eyebrows arching in silent inquiry. Julian pressed on. "A new code of conduct is set to take effect today, a statement that truly carries significance. We are establishing a committee of peers. Every role within the team, from servers to kitchen staff to the dish crew, will contribute to the way this establishment operates." A young prep cook lifted his hand. "Is it similar to a labor board?" "Precisely," Julian remarked. "Mutual responsibility is essential. We are creating an environment where fear does not dominate our space. Those who misuse their authority will face consequences. If someone underperforms, they'll receive guidance, not punishment. He advanced with purpose. I have engaged an external team to conduct a payroll audit. Did you miss out on any overtime pay? We are addressing the issue. Compensation owed. End of discussion. The room began to transform. Shoulders eased into comfort, jaws dropped. Not in disbelief, but with a sense of hopeful caution. In conclusion, Julian mentioned that he would be making regular visits to this location, not in a position of authority, like a person who genuinely wishes for your triumph. I may not always provide advance warning. I will dine here. Let's have a conversation. Pose inquiries. Smiles are not something you are obligated to give me. Transparency is what I deserve from you. A tall bartender adorned with sleeve tattoos let out a chuckle. So you're planning to keep an eye on us? Julian smiled broadly. Nope, I'll just continue to be present. And if I execute it perfectly, your concerns will fade away the moment I enter. A gentle wave of laughter swept across the room. He cast his gaze about once more. This goes beyond mere appearances. This focuses on improvement. Everyone is worthy of that. I shall not err in letting it slip from my memory once more. Following the meeting, individuals remained behind. A few engaged in conversation. Some lingered to express their gratitude in hushed tones. Several individuals inquired about the peer committee. Julian handed them a clipboard and instructed them to jot down their names. Take your time. Only purpose. He dedicated the following hour to wandering through the kitchen once more, this time posing genuine inquiries. What was effective? What was left undone? What tools were required? The chef with the limp now had a cushioned mat beneath his workspace. It had been ordered that very morning. Ariel brushed past him as she replenished the menus. It feels different. Fen here today, she remarked. Julian cast a glance in that direction. Was it good different or weird different? She pondered for a moment. He let out a chuckle. I will accept that. Then an unexpected event unfolded for Julian. Danny approached, his dish gloves still on, holding a neatly folded note. It's from my mother, he whispered. She mentioned to hand it over to the person who had faith in me. Julian unfolded the note. The penmanship was tidy. Proceed with caution. Thank you for recognizing my son when others attempted to overlook him. Not everyone would agree. He carefully folded it and tucked it away in his pocket. That moment required no reply. It simply required a gentle embrace. Yet Julian had more to say, only after he demonstrated that a second chance holds value when it is truly earned. 3 weeks later, Julian made his way back to the Jackson location on a serene Wednesday morning. No media coverage. There are no members on the board. He settled into the familiar parking space, donned the same hoodie. This time it seemed deliberate. He strolled in right as the morning shift commenced. The air was filled with the warm aroma of freshly baked biscuits and rich brewed coffee, serene vitality, the type that seemed effortless. Ariel was arranging syrup bottles at table 4. She looked up, instantly identifying him, and offered a brief nod. Not one of duty, but of recognition. Julian returned the smile and settled into the familiar corner booth where it all began that first night. Deshawn delivered a cup of coffee to him. Before he could inquire, black. Fresh pecan waffles have just arrived. Would you like a plate? Julian smiled broadly. You recalled? Your initial request placed here. I always remember the great ones. As Deshawn departed, Julian surveyed the surroundings. Keisha was mentoring a new hostess. Danny found himself at the dish pit once more, yet this time he wore headphones and a subtle smile played on his lips. Even the cook with the limp, who Julian discovered was named Monty, now had a stool at his station for when things slowed down. Not everything appeared flawless. It was never intended to, yet it appeared to be human, linked. It felt as though the location was alive once more. Ariel arrived during a quiet moment. Are you still making unexpected visits? Julian let out a soft laugh. I enjoy leaving people. In suspense, she paused. I had a conversation with the new manager. He is satisfactory. He expressed a desire to follow your lead, requested my assistance with organizing the schedule. Julian arched an eyebrow. Did you really say yes? In due course. I thought that if someone is going to construct the table, they should certainly understand how to arrange it properly. Julian gave a slow, deliberate nod. Excellent. Leadership resides within you. Don't squander it by seeking approval. She hesitated. Is that something your father mentioned to you? Julian paused to gaze out the window, lost in thought for a fleeting moment. No, it's something I wish someone had shared with me when I was in your shoes. Without uttering another word, she offered a faint smile and turned to head back to the kitchen. Julian observed her departure, then delved into his pocket to retrieve the note from Danny's mother. He had it neatly tucked away close to his wallet. Peruse it occasionally when the days become tumultuous. A person who had faith in me, that phrase resonated with him. For the reality was, he hadn't consistently trusted others. Not during the time he was constructing stores, pursuing investors, or recruiting individuals like Brent, based on impressive resumes. At some point, he began to place his faith in figures, rather than in individuals, favoring systems over sentiments. Yet it was the voices that shaped this brand, and overlooking them almost jeopardized its very foundation. He surveyed his surroundings once more. Silence enveloped the room as he entered, no applause to greet him. There was no effort made to win his admiration. To Julian, that was the clearest indication of advancement. Prior to his departure, he requested a Sharpie from Deshawn, strolled to the rear wall adjacent to the break room, where an aged corkboard was affixed, typically designated for announcements and shift exchanges. He inscribed in bold black ink on a pristine white sheet of paper, "The moment we cease to listen is the moment we cease to lead. Stay alert and attentive to everything around you. Julian Merritt." He hit the mark perfectly. He pivoted, offered a brief wave to the team and exited the scene. Silence prevails, no formalities. It was a subtle exit, reminiscent of any patron who had enjoyed a hearty meal and carried thoughts of his own. He stepped outside, taking a slow breath, his gaze following the cars as they glided by on McWillie Drive. Individuals on their way, to work, classes, and various tasks. The world continued its relentless march forward. Yet within the confines of that quaint eatery, a change had occurred. It transcended mere sustenance. It was never the case. It revolved around dignity, attentively absorbing. Possession, not merely a list of tasks but a reflection of culture. Julian slid into his car, retrieved his phone, and launched a blank note. Make your presence known. Observe. Pay attention. Indeed. Once more he managed to save it. No title. A gentle nudge for personal reflection. Because the most significant shift he implemented wasn't letting Brent go. It wasn't the evaluations or the regulations. It was recalling that the role of a leader begins with leaving the office and immersing oneself in the experiences of those you rely on. If this narrative resonated with you, if it served as a reminder that our treatment of others holds significance even in the absence of an audience, then I ask you for a small favor. Distribute it, and remember to subscribe for more narratives that resonate with our shared values, respect, fairness, and the bravery to strive for improvement.